Mijn internet laat me steek nie hoor.
Welcome, are we live? Hey everyone, welcome to the business show.
We're just waiting for my camera to go on.
Welcome everyone. If this is the first time that you're joining, just pop in the comments. We've got a really cool show for you today. So I was just on the phone with Neale Roberts, who's my business coach. So he's going to be joining us today for the show. Welcome guys. I see Vera's on. Who else? Mike. Welcome everyone. So if it's your first time joining, just let us know as well that it's the first time that you're joining onto the business show. And I see Willie just dropped off, so his internet is probably giving in again. And yeah, today got a really cool show to get my business coach, my own business coach. He's been my coach since 2010. So I had a few business coaches before that. Tested out a few business coaches. I didn't know what business coaching was. So really excited to get my business coach on. And he's been probably one of the most influential people in where I am today, just not in business alone, but also from an emotional state, emotional awareness, where, you know, when you start out your business, everything stresses you out and you feel so overwhelmed and it's just chaotic and you don't know if you should be in business or go back to employment or and
I've made the biggest mistake of your life.
So he's helping just process that information and see the things are out of my control and only care about the things or only worry about the things that's in your control. And that we don't have control over what the outcomes of things are. So it's called the fallacy of control. We think we have control over how things are going to turn out and what the future is going to be. We only have control over our actions. We don't have control over what the outcome of our actions would be, but we can make assumptions based on our history on what the future will be. So a big mouthful, but we'll get Neale on to explain a bit more about this. So I see Neale's joining into the room. Welcome, Neale.
Welcome, Neale.
Hello, Eugene. Nice to be here.
Thanks, Neale. So just in the top, you'll see around a little circle, then you can switch on the camera. Before we get on with Neale, Willie, we are going through into the session now. So I think first off, just tell everyone a bit about Entrepreneur HQ, the guys who hasn't been on EHQ before, and then just thanks to our sponsors.
Cool, guys. Thank you for joining the show. Without you, there can be no show. But for everyone that's new to the show, so who's a EHQ? So it's something which was born out of our passion for entrepreneurship. And it's something which we started to help entrepreneurs to not make the same mistakes that we did. So our purpose is we want to help businesses move online and scale online. So we as a business, we build systems, sales funnels, and do lead generation, do coaching and so forth. But something that we realized was that a lot of our we have big clients, and the guys that actually needs us the most is the little guys, the startup guys. And we kind of built this digital academy mastermind where we've created this environment for you to come and learn and meet other entrepreneurs. So that's kind of what we do as an organization. And we're so passionate about it. And thank you for all the guys that's joined us. And the show's really here. This is our give back time. We always joke about it. We pay to work at this job. That's really the case. So, before we go on, Eugene, just thanks to all our sponsors, Ebus Radio Time, Value Smart. Our purpose is to reach as many as entrepreneurs as possible. We had a session this morning with our guys, the Q&A session, and Eugene mentioned we're trying to help. For now, our goal is to help 1,000 guys move online and grow online. So, that is Entrepreneur HQ. And welcome to the show, and let's jump into today's giant. Eugene, back to you.
Thanks. Neale, if you look in the top, we can't see your camera, then you can just switch on the camera and then we can see your face.
Oh, sorry, I've got my camera switched on at the top of the page. I'm just not sure
It's showing a black screen.
why it's not showing. Maybe that's maybe technology knows something that I don't, that it should be hidden.
Check there on your camera. There's like a sliding thing. I've just lit mine, so it's closed. Maybe it's that.
So I've clicked on the page that's got it here for camera. I'm just not sure why it's not.
Maybe just sign out and sign back in. So if you just close the browser and then sign back in.
Sure.
Maybe that fixes it. So as I mentioned, guys, today this is a real honor for me to have my business coach on here. So Neale, as I said, has been my business coach for the past probably about 10 years. And we all want to get to a state where, if you think about it, what's one of the biggest reasons, maybe just pop there in the comments, what's one of the biggest reasons that you want to start a business? What is the reason behind it that you want to start a business? Willie, I actually think we've got a poll up. So there's a poll.
Yes, I'm going to pop up the poll. So let's go for it. The poll is, have you ever paid for business coaching? Everyone on the call, just answer yes or no. Hey, hello, Neale.
Neale's moneymaker. This is the moneymaker.
So hello, sorry. When I tested the video, I tested the sound and not the video. So here I am. Nice to be here.
We actually had a business show where myself and Willie's camera was this small in the bottom of the screen, and we couldn't.
And we just couldn't get it bigger.
So we presented a whole business show with two little icons in the bottom of the screen. So technology for us. So yeah, I was just telling everyone how I know you and that you've been my coach since 2010. So we met in 2010. You still came through to my garage when my office was literally in my garage.
I remember. Has it been that long? It seems like it was only the other day, Eugene. But it's nice to be here. Hello, everybody. Really nice to be part of the show. And thanks to Eugene for inviting me along, and to Willie for making this happen. And so I'm excited to share with you whatever I have to share and whatever you'd like to hear. So, yeah, thanks, Eugene.
I wish this could be a show that's 2 or 3 hours long, because Neale, you're probably the most fascinating person I know and the most knowledgeable person I know. So I hope the viewers have their pens and papers out, because there's some real insights coming. Every time I have a session with Neale, I walk away just inspired with what can be possible and what we can achieve as human beings. So Neale, for everyone else that doesn't know you, maybe just give a background of who is Neale.
I'll keep it short, because it's when you've been on Earth for a while, it takes a while to get through things. So I'll keep it short. So I started my career. I got out of years ago. I got out of the army, and my parents had moved overseas, and I didn't really have a place to stay or a job. So I started knocking on doors for a living and didn't have a car, and had my first girlfriend, and I took her out in the bus. And I stayed in Joubert Park, and she was very amenable to that, and so we had our first date on the bus. So after that, obviously, I got a job and I worked my way up. And 20 years ago, as part of who I was helping people with their finances and their business as a certified financial planner. I started coaching because lots of people had businesses that I was dealing with. I did 1,100 clients, and they needed to one day sell their business, and they hadn't prepared it yet for sale. They were still doing things that wouldn't be good for a sell, for someone to buy the business. So I had to help them, and I'm happy to hear that one of the guys that I helped, who I still coach 15 years later, similar to, say, Eugene, is selling his business now for, I think, I'm not sure the actual price, but I think it's around about 60 million rand.
Wow.
So that worked out quite well to get them into a space where they set their business up for sale, because it's not a thing that happens. So I started 7 businesses, sold 3, failed at 1. So for a man, that's kind of difficult, because sometimes our egos are caught up with what we do.
Why you guys talking?
So,
Eugene, how many businesses have you started?
So, and then 5 years ago, I did a course. I was working with an industrial psychologist, and we decided that we would do a formal course to see what coaching was like from an international point of view. And after I'd done that course, it was certified. I decided that there's a massive need to train people, talented people, to become business coaches. So that's what SA Business Coaches does. It trains people, talented people, to become business coaches. It's not our main source of income. The vision there is 1,000 business coaches by the end of next year. So I'm way behind. But anyway, that's really the story. And I'm a coach. That's what I do. I love to coach.
Wow, Neale. So you've touched on everything there. So Neale, what's the benefits of business coaching for the guys that's watching this program?
Actually, there's 80% of our viewers has never paid for business coaching. So this is quite a new, untapped market or inexperienced market. So I think this is a really interesting subject for today's session.
Okay. So if 80% haven't paid, it sounds like they're not going to be paying again. So there you go. There's a session again. So, Willie, if I understand you correctly, what is a business coach? What benefit can someone get from having a business coach?
Yes, correct. Because I think a lot of guys mistake business coaches as mentors or consultants, which is not really the truth. So, yeah, if you can maybe just give us a rundown, what's the benefits of having a business coach?
Sure. So if I can tell you a story, one of the 7 businesses that I bought, one of my clients had a courier franchise, and he wanted to sell the Johannesburg Central region, which was his part of the franchise. So at the time I was married, and so I said to my wife, here's this thing for sale, it's 50,000 Rand. And she said, well, why don't we buy it? So we bought it, and we staffed it. And we got it up to 360,000 Rand a month at a GP of about 62 or 63%. So it was a really great business. Yeah. And the franchisor couldn't help us grow it beyond that. So we had to find someone to do that. So I'm talking about 20 years ago. So if there had been business coaches at that time, I would have spoken to a business coach because what a business coach does for you is business coaching is not about giving advice, not about telling you what to do. It's not a consultant. My view is that you will always know more about your business than someone coming in from the outside.
Exactly.
So coach is not about a good coach that's been trained is not about to come in and tell you what to do or how to do it. That's more of a consultant. But a coach should have subject matter expertise. And a lot of the training that coaches are getting today is therapy-based, and they're saying that you don't need subject matter expertise because the coach asks the questions.
Bullshit.
And we all have our answers. It's just the questions, the good questions that need to be asked. So I think the reason that I would have needed a coach and possibly something for you to be thinking about is somebody that can help you think through things. It's lonely, it's uncertain, decisions are difficult. I spoke to a person yesterday. They've been in their business since 2001, and they are struggling to make decisions. It's a family business, so they're not sure what should or shouldn't. So a lot of uncertainty, and so your business coach is not going to judge you. They're not going to tell you what to do. They've been trained to work with 45 competencies behind the scenes. So they're not looking for your solution for you because only you can find the best solution for you. But they're taking you on a journey where your solution is going to be the best solution for you. And it's really an inexpensive journey. Business coaches will range from probably 1,000 Rand a month all the way up to 100 or 200,000 Rand a year. Okay. And the return on that investment is phenomenal. Some instances, it goes into the thousands of % because all you really need is one really good idea of what to change in your business, which you'll get. And that can multiply itself. So, yeah. I hope that answers the question, Willie.
Absolutely. I think that just that awareness that a coach creates for you so that you can leverage off your own, that was my experience as well. So yeah, now you most definitely answered my question.
Great.
You're talking about the return on investment, Neil, and if I think about it, how many of the entrepreneurs, their biggest obstacle to moving into coaching is paying for coaching. Yep. And when I started my coaching practice, before I went on the training, so I think I qualified with SA Business Coaches 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And before that, I actually did business coaching for free. People didn't pitch up for coaching. They didn't execute on the tasks that we discuss in the coaching session. So we design actions that they need to follow through, and we keep them accountable. And only when I started paying, or when I started charging, after I did your course, you told me about how important it is to charge for coaching. Only after I started charging did the guys coming for coaching actually see a result. But then if you think about coaching, so my packages start off at 30,000 Rand a year. And if you think how small investment that is, thinking on the return of investment, just one good idea will generate 100,000 Rand for you over the year's term. And that's in one session. Now imagine having 10 or 20 sessions like that in a year's time, the return on investment. And I think that is a big shift. So my question on that is, what advice would you give someone when they have this resistance to pay for business coaching?
Well, okay, as a coach, I was an advisor for 36 years, but now as a coach, I struggle with this advice. But seeing as you're asking me, Eugene, I'm going to jump back into my old role with my advice.
We will forgive you this time.
So the advice would be have a meet and greet with the coach. There needs to be some chemistry with the coach, and see if you can get on with them. And I wouldn't sign a year's contract. I know some coaches that would like you to sign a year's contract, and that, it depends. I would take a journey with a coach. It's highly enriching. And most really successful people have had somebody in their corner, whether it's a father image, whether it's a mentor. Lots of people start their careers at corporate and they leave corporate because they've had someone growing them into a position, and then they go and do their own thing. And normally it's at that time when they go and do their own thing, they leave behind that mentor or that coach that they had, who they were bouncing ideas off all the time. And now when that happens, a number of things can happen. But one of the things, Willie, that's probably be close to your heart, is that the income flatlines. So your instead of your turnover going up, it all of a sudden flatlines. And then as your costs rise, it squashes out your profit. And then in no time, you're in crisis. I've coached a couple of people in crisis. It's never the right time to get hold of a business coach. But in this instance, it worked. But so my advice to you, if I can, is consider it. A good coach is not going to tell you how to run your business. A good coach is going to be there in your corner. And exactly the same as a rugby coach or a football coach. They're not going to run on the field and play the game for you. That's up to you. Those are your roles and your responsibilities. My role as a coach, and Eugene's role as a coach, and Willie's role are to listen to you, to create conversations that are stimulating, that are around your business, that are around your people, and that also around you, around your patterns that have got you to where you are now. But we've all got patterns. I got patterns. I've got a business coach, because my patterns of thinking, of behavior, of feeling, of getting cross or not, all of those are our patterns. Someone needs to point them out to us. So my advice to you is consider it and put your toe in the water.
And whilst we're on the picking a coach subject, Neil, how important is it to, so we most often see guys just go to do a quick 1 week coaching session. They've never had a business in their life. How important is it actually to go and find a coach that's actually been in business for quite a while? I mean, you mentioned that you've started 7 businesses yourself, and now you're doing business coaching. How important is that to find a coach like that?
Well, yeah, I think I think there's two answers to that. I think subject matter expertise from an academic point of view, if I can use that. So there's a gent called Clutterbuck, David Clutterbuck. He's the professor of coaching at Middlesex University in the UK. He's one of the only voices in the desert who is saying that subject matter expertise is crucial to coaching, because the rest of the coaching world, academic universities, whatever, are saying that you don't need subject matter expertise to coach. So that is incorrect, completely incorrect. If you get a subject matter expert as a marketing coach or as an IT coach or a financial coach, and they know how to coach, that's the second part of the answer, Willie.
Yep.
If they've been taught how to coach, in other words, they're not going to tell you, they're not going to disempower your creative thinking processes. And if they can help you to think about the application of this stuff to your business, that's the a really good mix. So to get somebody who's got subject matter expertise around how to run your business, how to do the finance, what to do in that space, and who knows how to coach, that's a really good formula.
Great.
Yeah, so I totally agree with that, Neil. So before I met you, I mentioned to you I had about 6 or 7 coaches in the period of about 7 months. One of them charged me 20,000 Rand a month to come and stand in front and present to me. And then I went to his free conference and he was presenting the same content at his free conference. I was highly upset. And then I spoke to someone else, or I had another coach, and they had zero subject matter expertise. So they've never had a business in their life. They worked for a corporate. They did a weekend course to become a coach. And then again, coached me, and he was sitting there telling me how to run my business. And I was so frustrated because the things he was saying, I have done it in the past. It didn't work out. And on the other side, I knew that it wasn't going to work. So having that subject matter expertise is crucial, firstly, from that perspective. And then secondly, how do you understand when someone says, yes, I feel so alone, or I feel so stressed out? How can you relate to that or be a good coach if you've never been on that journey, if you don't understand what entrepreneurship is or business is or whatever the case may be? So, Neil, my next question is a bit off topic, and I'm talking out of my own experience as well. We go into business coaching and we think we're going to sit there and just talk about business and just talk about the strategy of the business or the vision of the business or whatever it is. A lot of the cases, it goes into personal stuff. I mean, if I look at my own sessions over the last couple of months, how many of those sessions were personal stuff? Relationship, my thoughts, my beliefs, my expectations, all those sort of things. How big a part of that, of your personal side, is business coaching?
Interesting question, Eugene. So on one of the courses, just to give a bit of background to the answer, and I'd like to then answer, on one of the courses, we had a chartered accountant who came to do the course, and obviously a chartered accountants or professional accountants are coaching their clients for free, and that probably is going to stop in the future. I think it should. Because their knowledge is so vast, and you should be having separate sessions with your accountant, and they should be coaching you around what your finance means. Too often we get the financials just to submit to SARS, and there's so much information that sits in there that would really help you make good decisions.
Are you listening, Willie?
I am listening.
But nonetheless, so this chartered accountant did the course. He absolutely didn't want to have anything to do. So our methodology is we work with a thing called BOP, business, other people, and personal. So those are the 3 areas that we're working with on a regular basis. And he didn't want to have anything to do with P, because P was the personal sort of soft stuff. A couple of months, 6 months after he left the course, he did up to module 4, he didn't finish module 5. One of the delegates bumped into him and said to him, Frank, how's it going? What's going? He said, no, I'm coaching flat out. So they said, wow, and how's that going? He said, you know what? I'm coaching all in the P space. So from having a very definitive view that he didn't want to touch P, the personal, the patterns, to now finding that in his business, he was dealing mostly with what Eugene talks about, the things that make us uniquely human, because we need to be talking to someone about that. It's a human need. And so, we've got our patterns, whether we wake up in the morning or not. And if you're a business owner, I'd like to leave you with this thought. All of us who are business owners are like Olympic athletes. You might not think it, you might not feel it, and you might not be acting in that way yet. But every morning that you get up, it's exactly the same as an Olympic athlete. They've trained their whole lives. They train every day. They watch what they eat. They watch how much they sleep. A lot of them take their pulse in the morning. And if their pulse rate's 3 or 4 beats above the normal, they won't train that day because they'll rest because something's happening with their body. And so they're the best on the day that they're going to do that race or they're going to do that event. Now, every day that you and I get up and go to work, we like that Olympic athlete. We need to have everything. We need to be in the zone. And that Olympic athlete didn't get there on their own. They got there because there was someone who cared about them, someone who was trained to know what they should be doing and how they should be thinking, and also how they should be feeling. Because you see, when you run on the track, that's your behavior. That's only one of the 3 patterns. And so that's really what a good coach does. Gets you into the zone and keeps you in the zone so you can make money. And you can live a whole life. So, yeah, the 8 areas of our lives, and those need to be balanced or integrated. So I hope that answers your question, Eugene.
Yeah, it's to talk about that, and I personally know the difference of that. How you show up when you are fully motivated, you are energized, your mind is clear, you've got a strategy in place, you've got certain habits that you follow. The execution level is unmeasurable compared to when you're not in the zone. I can clearly see a complete difference in my results, in my execution, in how things just happen without me doing something. For example, yesterday, I haven't been so motivated and so in the zone as I was yesterday in quite some time. It's probably my highest peak performance that I've been at. And just through small things that I did yesterday, 3 new clients phoned me today. I had an amazing meeting with the doctor. It's just insane how showing up in that peak performance, what a difference it makes in your business.
Yep.
And the area, so if you look at Bob, business is the one area that influences our peak state the least amount of time. So other people, relationships, influence of partners, business partners, whatever the case may be, other people, and then personal. That is the 2 areas that takes us out of that state the most. And that's one of the areas we most neglect is our personal behavior and personal reflection. Sorry, Willie, I know you've got a question. I just want to ask a question on that as well. So we've got these behaviors, this, I don't know what to call it. I don't want to say weaknesses or problems. I know you mentioned one time to me as well, Neil, is you were thinking about taking a year sabbatical. I was like, Neil, you're like centered and everything's good. Why do you need to take a sabbatical? And you said, Eugene, it takes the rest of your life to unlearn the things that you were taught the first 7 years of your life. So we end up with all these inner game habits. Well, it's habits, the way that we think, the way that we perceive things, all these fallacies. It's just the process of getting out of that. It almost feels like you want to switch a button so that you are fixed. But you've been on this journey for 40 years and you still want to take a sabbatical to do inner reflection, or a year sabbatical to do inner reflection. What is the process behind that? And maybe just give some background to someone that's never heard anything about that.
So, okay, thanks, Eugene. And Willie, I'm conscious, cognizant that you have a question, so I'll keep this.
You go and you share with everyone. We're getting a lot of value.
if not that your brain does, but if your brain's anything like my brain, it would my brain would forget my question. I'd have to write it down. But
I've got it written down.
Okay. So at universities, you go on a sabbatical because you need to have a break. You need to rest yourself. I remember working with a guy. I coached him. He said he worked at a company. I'm not sure, it was an Anglo-American company, and it was in a long building, and there were a whole lot of scientists. And this manager, who was his mentor, said one day to him, he walks down the corridor past all these officers, and if he doesn't see at least 3 of the 10 scientists sitting there with their feet on the table and their hands behind their head like this and staring out the window, he's worried, because they're not thinking about new stuff. And not dreaming about the possibilities that could be, and getting into that creative mode. And so there's a lot to be said for mindfulness. There's a lot to be said for mindlessness, where you just let your mind wander, where you're not trying to block things out. So there's this mindfulness and mindlessness. And mindlessness is a very important part of who we are, where we give ourselves time not to keep analytically thinking and replaying stuff. And the sabbatical just really takes you away. It gives your mind and your subconscious mind time to recharge and to come up with new creativity. And that's one of the things that we've lost with social media and where we are at the moment in the world, is there's not enough time for sabbatical, not enough time for mindlessness. Where we can think and be creative and come up with new beginnings and re-energize ourselves. So, yeah, that's mindfulness and mindlessness. That's well summed up in those 2 words.
It's almost like that thing, Willie, that we were talking about the other day of keeping us in peak performance. And, one of the things that we need to do, you're mentioning like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can feel your energy dropping. You need to go out and just go for a run or something like that, or go to the gym, or go meditate, or whatever it is, to just lift your energy up again. And how guilty we feel for doing that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I often like to go away, and, we've been in lockdown for a while, and if I can just attest to that, is I knew I was going away and there was going to be no, signal there and stuff like that. And I had this anxious feeling to speak to Eugene and say, listen, this is what's going to happen. I'm going away. Is it going to be a problem? He's like, no, dude, that's why we've got a partnership. And, but even if you go to that point and no one can reach you, sometimes I tell my wife, I say, shit, I feel a bit guilty for sitting here. So, yeah, it's quite, I don't know. It's definitely something to work on, eh? So
I'm looking, I'm not being rude. Well, I am being rude, but there's a reason for me being rude. Funnily enough, it's very interesting that you asked this question, because only this morning I'd made a note. I'll find it just now. I made a note, a clip where Bill Gates, twice a year, he goes away for 2 weeks, a week at a time. Sorry, his Think Week. That's right. Yeah, there you go. Well, you know about it. His Think Week, where not even his family are allowed to contact him. Sure. And that's how he uses sabbatical twice a year. At universities, it's normally after 10 years they give you a year sabbatical, which is paid leave. So really, that's what it does. So he's been using that for the last 20 or 30 or 40 years, I would think.
Where does that come from? Yeah? For example, going to gym 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we justify it for ourselves that we work until 7 or 8 or 9 p.m. in the evening, and we need to have these breaks in between meditation or gym or go for a jog or whatever it is, to lift our peak state, to constantly stay in this peak state. And so often, I speak for myself as well, I don't do it because I have this guilt that, yes, am I allowed to exercise 2 o'clock in the afternoon? What is that about? Do you have any input on that?
I think that's kind of really interesting, and I don't think you're alone there, Eugene. And I sit in that space as well. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, there is a difference between the two. This thing about starting at 8 and finishing at 5 isn't part of the psyche, isn't part of our the way that we see things. It wasn't like that in the beginning. It's just a habit that we've built up. Because probably, thinking about it, maybe from my own point of view, and that's why a business coach is kind of so important, is if there's nobody else to do it, so I'll do it. So you can only do so much, and you push that to 14 hours a day for 5 days, 6 days, sometimes 7 days a week. And then you're really failing in your business when that's starting to happen. And then we need to undo, as you were saying, Eugene, undo those habits and habits of thinking that we shouldn't be only working like Tim Ferriss says, 4 hours. I think he says the 4-hour work week. But we need to find ourselves a space and somebody who is going to hold us accountable to balance our lives and to go to gym and to allow ourselves to go to gym, because the guys at corporate can't do that. So to have fun in managing your time at all different hours and having fun doing that, without being an autocrat. And also, how did your parents bring you up? Did they bring you up like that? That you have to work hard? Only successful people work hard.
Yeah, I think it's something which is like ingrained in us, especially in South Africa. I don't know if the rest of the world, but I mean, got up, go to school, clock rings, go have a break, come back, work, clock rings, go have lunch, come back. We've put into that cycle, and then as soon as you start breaking that cycle, you kind of feel guilty because I've now done something wrong. And truly, I think that's very important, just to break that cycle.
I think we should have our mastermind group keep us accountable. And then when you go for a jog in the afternoon and I go to gym, then we can post a picture on our WhatsApp group. So, and then maybe everyone else on the group. So Sonia's asking, for example, what's the best time to take a sabbatical during the day? So maybe keep ourselves accountable to have these breaks to stay at peak performance.
Yeah, I think so. To answer Sonia's question, if I can, I'm not going to try and answer. I'm going to volunteer just what I know about taking breaks. You get morning people and afternoon people, and from the psychology that's been put together, if you have a sensitive nervous system. People with sensitive nervous systems, that's what we're born with, generally tend to be introverted because too much external stimulation freaks us out. And so in the morning, we're really good because we've had the whole night to relax. And so we're good in the morning. And as time goes on during the day, with all the interaction and all the stimuli that are happening, it wears us out. And so by 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, we're really tired. And that's not a great time to be making decisions. And so that's probably the time to take the break. One of the guy's dead now, but a chap called Robert Goizueta, who was the chairman of Coca-Cola, was an engineer, and he came from Cuba. He made it to the top of this organization in America. And so that position meant that he had to interact a lot with people, with the bottlers, as they called them in those days, and the franchisees, and a lot of it was social. And if he had a function in the late afternoon or early evening, he would go home in the afternoon and he would rest before that, because he was an introvert. And so he needed to gain energy for later on in the day. So that's just, if you don't know if you're an introvert or extrovert, do an assessment online and find that out, and then plan yourself around those preferences. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Really
Can
cool.
I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm scared we run out of time and I don't get a chance.
No, I've got 6 more questions I want to ask.
Yes, you can wait in line. So Neale, for everyone that's on the show, if they want to become a business coach, what advice would you give these guys?
come and become a business coach. Absolutely, the country needs you. So the other day I was in our module 1. I was just looking at a slide and I needed to update the slide, so I went online to have a look and count how many companies there are and how many state-owned organizations and government organizations and NGOs, NPOs, and entrepreneurs or business owners, sole proprietors, joint venture. There's probably 3 or 4 million of these. Let's say 2 million. Let's say 2 million people at least that are needing help around business coaching. So there's a big market. I wouldn't do the therapy-based coaching. I'd be really careful of that because what the therapy-based coaching is, I do therapy-based coaching, but that's 1/3 of what I do. There are a lot of coach training providers that only sell you therapy-based coaching. And now what about the other 2/3? You then have to go and think about how you're going to start your business, what your packages are, how you're going to help your clients, what's your customer journey like. And so you're going to have to learn all of those, and that's going to take you another year or 2. So in the country, there are probably 4.5 or 5 million coaches. Some of them belong to the Coaches and Mentors of South Africa, which is the official regulating body here. And sometimes the functions that I used to go to before COVID would be these desperate people looking for work. They would be coming there hoping that someone would say, listen, I need 5 coaches to come and coach in this space. So be careful if you're going to become a coach and do coach training that you do it with someone, an organization like SA Business Coaches that are going to help you. It's going to create a support group for you that's going to help you think about how you're going to set your business up and always be there for you. Because coaching is a lonely business. As you know, entrepreneurship and business ownership are lonely businesses.
So for everyone that's interested, I'll just pop Neale's website in the chat box.
Wow, thanks, Willie. I wasn't expecting that, so that's like a bonus on the top.
There you go, guys. Go and join SA Business Coaches if you want to become a business coach.
No.
Great. You're welcome to talk to me if you like. Yeah.
Well, I've got one more question from my side. I know Willie's got another question. Firstly, we definitely need to get you on for another session. There's about 6 or 7 more questions that I want to ask.
Okay.
And but be mindful of the time of our viewers as well. So many of them still sitting at work and they ticking the time away before 5 o'clock. So Neale, you're talking about having this support group in the community. So we've got something similar in Entrepreneur HQ, in EHQ. We've got a digital mastermind academy. And we're basically just a WhatsApp group, and we've designed a whole bunch of courses and that sort of stuff to support everyone that joins our community.
Yeah.
What's the benefit that, for example, SA Business Coaches, but anyone else, so even our mastermind, what's the benefit of being part of a group like that?
I think, Eugene, thanks for the question. I think it's a really good question and an important question, especially in a forum like this today, is that you'll notice with COVID, there's a lot of, let's say, mental health. I'm not going to say mental health issues because that means, it's like, well, that makes it even worse. But I'm going to say mental health challenges. And mental health means that how are we dealing with our emotions? And generally for someone who, all of us, let's say we're all healthy from an emotional point of view, when we get isolated, things happen to us because we're not supposed to be that way. We are social creatures by nature. Mm. And so what happens when we isolated like we were at COVID? We stay at home, we can only talk through technology, we don't see people. Well, exactly the same happens to you in an entrepreneur space. When you're working constantly all day, you're not interacting with people, and in a lot of cases, in that instance, you also shrink the social interaction with family and with relatives, and you become so focused and almost obsessive on your business. What's really good, part of the sabbatical thing, or part of giving yourself a break and allowing your subconscious and your creative process to start again, is to interact with like-minded people where you are hearing other viewpoints and some really good viewpoints and other viewpoints not so good. So once again, you're able to regulate your own thinking about what various people are thinking, and it gives you that sense of being, because now it gives you meaning. And so being part of a master group like this, especially in the entrepreneurial space where there's no one that's going to help you out there, and lots of regulation that's looking to punish you, this is a space that you want to be in. Really, this is the space that you want to be in.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Willie, any more questions from your side?
One more.
Just one more. Quick one, Neale. So you've been a business coach for quite a few years. What would you say are the 3 areas that most improves within these business owners that you've coached?
So really what most improves, what's most improved about them is they become calmer because they have somebody they know that they can talk to that's not going to judge them, and nothing is too big or too small or too much of a problem or whatever in their businesses with a coach. So it's a calmness that comes to it. Number 2 is there's a success that comes out of it. I had a person who I was coaching last year, got hold of me in August, didn't have money for bonuses in December or salaries, and creditors weren't going to forward him any more stock because he hadn't paid. And so after paying roughly 12 or 13,000 Rand, he got orders for 2.7 million. And in that process of the business coaching, it helped him rethink his business. I could never have, he'd been at business for 12 years. I could never do anything better than him, but it just allowed him to bounce his thoughts off other people, to then come back and say, just give him the fortitude to be able to go ahead and make those decisions again. And I would think the third thing of a business coach is always at the back of your mind, you've got this niggling, you're worried about whether you're doing the right thing or not. And it takes away that anxiety that we don't want to live our lives like that, which can affect our mental health and our physical health. So it's always nice to have that. So those are the 3 things. And 1 brings a calmness. 2, financially, it works out really well because you're talking to someone who can see the whole landscape and help you. And 3, it helps you stay healthy, mentally healthy and also physically healthy.
Okay, cool, awesome. And how important is that health? I mean, entrepreneurs constantly forget and they leave their health on the table just to run the ship, eh?
Yeah.
And I think we can all exactly.
And we forget about our emotional health and our mental health.
Yep.
And I was just talking in the beginning of the call before you came on, and I said just what a massive impact it's made having someone like you, Neale, in my team. So one of the things that Jim Collins talks about is who's in your team. Robert Kiyosaki also talks a lot about it, who's in your team. And it doesn't have to be permanently employed people, but who's your coach? Who's your attorney? Who's your accountant, etc., etc. And having those guys on the team, you need to have an accountant, you need to have an attorney, you need to have a coach. You must have a coach in your business team. And one of the biggest impacts for me is almost an area that's very difficult to measure, but it's the emotional calmness and the emotional, I would say freedom, the emotional freedom. So we start our businesses to be free. We think that going away for 2 weeks on a holiday once a year gives us freedom. And what do you do for the other 50 weeks that you come back and have to slave away in your business? It's not. And when you constantly have anxiety and stress and lack of motivation and this constant problems, that's not freedom. So freedom is not just the physical movement, but it's also your emotional movement. How free are you from your own thoughts and your beliefs and all these things that condition us? So that is also a massive part of business coaching. You need to state emotional freedom. And if I look back now, I remember I phoned you. I was standing outside one of my clients. And I remember it clear as day till today, a couple of years ago, probably 6-7 years ago. And I still had MCP networking. And I was standing outside one of my clients, and one of the technicians didn't do backups, and this guy didn't do this. And the client that I just walked into was unhappy about a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm standing outside on the lawn, and I remember this green grass with the phone in my ear, and I'm phoning you, and I say, I can't do this anymore. I'm over this. And just having that coach in your corner that can calm you down and ask you a few insightful questions and have stimulating conversations. And now where I am today, it's almost like a grown up. Thanks, Neil.
Do you think you can grow up?
We jump off for everyone that hasn't joined our mastermind group yet. You'll see the ad afterwards on Facebook because we do retargeting. So you'll probably see the ad on Facebook as well. For everyone that's on the business show, we've got a special where we charge you $99 to join our mastermind group. $99 a month. It's less than a dinner a month for moving your business forward, for all the benefits that you're going to get, as Neil spoke about. Ridiculous. So on the right-hand side, you'll see there's an offer on. Sign up today for $99 to join our EHQ Mastermind, get all our courses, join our accountability group, our Zoom meetings, and then our WhatsApp group. But otherwise than that, Neil, I just want to thank you for joining on. It's always an honor. It's always an amazing conversation. To any engagement with you is a revelation. So thank you for sharing your time, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
Just from my side as well, Neil, thank you. You're a very busy man. Thank you for coming to give us some insight to our viewers, and for our viewers for coming to watch the show. Without you, there can't be no show.
Yeah.
So great, guys.
So, Neil, before we go off, you have to do the EHQ greeting.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Eugene. Thanks, Willie. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone, keep well.
All the best. Bye.
All the best. Bye.